Okay, so what if I told you that pretty much everything you've ever been taught about money is, well, wrong? Today, we are diving deep into one of the most talked about personal finance books ever written, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's this incredible story about two different fathers with two completely different ways of thinking about money. And trust me, it's going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about getting rich. So let's just get right to the heart of it. The whole book really boils down to this one single question. You have to ask yourself, are you working for your money, or is your money working for you? It sounds simple, right? But the answer to that question, that one little shift in perspective, it changes absolutely everything. Let's dig into why. You see, all the lessons in the book are told through the lens of these two father figures. First, there's the author's real dad, the poor dad. This guy was brilliant, a top academic with a PhD, held a steady government job, and yet he was always struggling with money. And then you have his best friend's dad, the rich dad. This guy, he was a high school dropout, and he ended up becoming one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. So how on earth does that happen? Well, it's because their views on the world were like night and day. Poor dad was all about job security, get a good job with benefits. Rich dad? He was all about building real wealth. And here's a big one. When faced with something he wanted, poor dad's mind would just shut down and say, I can't afford it. Game over. But rich dad's mind would light up and ask a totally different question. How can I afford it? See the difference? One's a dead end, the other is the start of a whole new way of thinking. So what was the secret sauce? What was the big difference maker? It wasn't about getting a PhD or having a high-paying job. Rich dad's whole philosophy was that the real divide between the rich and everybody else comes down to truly understanding the difference between two very simple words. The first word is asset. Now, forget all those complicated definitions you learned in school. Rich Dad's version is so much simpler. An asset is anything, and I mean anything, that puts money in your pocket. Period. Think of it like a little money-making machine that you own. And the second word, you guessed it, is liability. And again, we're keeping it simple. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. It's a constant drain on your finances. Honestly, the entire game of building wealth is just learning to see everything through this lens. So let's make this super clear. Assets are things like rental properties that bring in rent checks or stocks that pay you dividends. They create this awesome river of cash that's always flowing towards you. Liabilities, on the other hand, are things like your mortgage, your car loan, your credit card debt. They're like a financial black hole, just sucking cash away from you. The wealthy get this. They don't just work for a paycheck. They use that paycheck to buy more assets, which then create even more cash. All right, now get ready for the idea that just makes people's brains short circuit. Your house? It is not an asset. Yeah? You heard me right. According to Rich Dad's super simple definition, if your home is costing you money every single month with the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, the repairs, and it's not making you money, then it's a liability. This one idea is a direct hit on the biggest piece of financial advice most of us have ever gotten. Okay, so if that's the big idea, what's the actual game plan? How do you take this philosophy and, do something with it? Let's get into the strategy. The playbook really has four main parts. First, you just become obsessed with acquiring assets. It's your number one goal. Second, and this is so important, you have to mind your own business. What does that mean? It means your job is your profession, but your business is your asset column. Your job pays the bills, sure, but it's your business. Your collection of assets, that's going to make you rich. And the last two are all about being proactive. You create opportunities, you don't wait for them, and you are constantly learning new skills. And here's another one of those mind-bending ideas. You should work to learn, not just to earn. See, poor dad was always chasing a bigger paycheck. But rich dad's advice was to take jobs that would teach you priceless skills, things like sales, marketing, communication, negotiation. And why? Because a paycheck might pay your bills for the month, but a skill can build you a fortune that lasts a lifetime. Now, building wealth isn't just about buying up a bunch of assets. You've got to protect them, too. The wealthy understand how to use legal structures like corporations and the tax code to their advantage. Now, this isn't about doing anything illegal to avoid taxes. It's about understanding the rules of the financial game so well that you can legally minimize what you lose and maximize what you grow. And all of this kind of comes together in what the book calls the cash flow quadrant. Look, on the left side, you're either an employee or you're self-employed. Either way, you're trading your time for money. If you stop working, guess what? The money stops too. But on the right side, you're a business owner or an investor. You don't have a job, you own a system, or you own assets that work for you 24/7. The entire journey to financial freedom is really about moving from the left side of this quadrant over to the right. So, you've heard all this. Your mind is probably spinning a little bit. Where do you even start? The philosophy is great, but what really counts is taking action. So, let's break down the very first steps you can actually take on this path.
So what's the first move? It's actually incredibly simple. Pay yourself first. What that means is before you pay a single bill, before rent, before your car payment, before anything, you take a piece of your income and you buy an asset. Even if it's a tiny one, you have to feed your asset column before you feed anybody else's. This isn't just a clever trick. It's the absolute foundational habit of building wealth. You combine that with a real hunger to keep learning, and you're officially on the journey.
In the end, this whole book is really about a choice. It's not some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about a massive shift in how you see money and the world. You can keep following the traditional path of job security, just trading your time for a paycheck. Or you can start down the path of financial education, of building a system where your money finally starts working for you. It all comes down to that choice. So I'll ask you, which dad's advice will you follow?